Timothy Kirkhope, Conservative MEP for Yorkshire and the Humber. First of all, these so-called psychoactive drugs, or designer drugs as they're also called, what kind of problems are they causing in your constituency, and what are they?
Well, actually, they're used as sort of precursors, elements which actually sometimes in themselves are not harmful. But when they're put together with other chemicals or other drugs, they actually produce very harmful effects, indeed including fatalities. We've had a lot of fatalities, young people particularly, who have actually experimented with them or been subject to sales to them of products which have these elements in them, and as a result of which they have lost their lives, and this seems to me to be appalling.
West Yorkshire Police is one police force that has highlighted these legal highs as being problematic to them, something that they're worried about. Before we get on to what the European Commission has today done, what do you make yourself of these substances? Do you yourself have concerns about them as the police force in your constituency does?
Yes, because there's been a gap in terms of the attention of the authorities towards these elements, these substances. Quite often they just get through the net. We have, of course, a lot of well-known drugs, and these drugs all have categories, as you know, which actually means that they are illegal, or certainly they are deprecated in terms of use, other than for medicinal purposes under proper controls. But these particular substances have got through the net. They haven't been registered, they haven't been controlled, and indeed that is why they describe loosely as legal highs, which I think is a very, very dangerous expression to use about them. And now we have a situation where I'm very glad that certainly there's an awareness, particularly in Yorkshire, in my constituency, where the police and other agencies have got together with a view to actually trying to both educate, but also to try and make sure these substances are known and that they are therefore restricted.
And today we hear from the European Commission that they would like to see a ban put in force to stop these legal highs, as they're called, being available on sale. What's your reaction to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm very much in favour of this, incidentally, but I think one has to be slightly careful about it because, of course, a number of these substances are actually part of other products which are perfectly innocuous or even beneficial in their use. So what we have to try and do is to separate these items out. I mean, one of them best known is a thing called acetic anhydride, which, of course, when it is added to opium, produces a pure form of heroin, which, of course, we all know destroys lives and is a very, very dangerous drug. Other products are actually used within formulations which are not in themselves, as I say, harmful when put together, when synthesized, but on their own they are highly dangerous. So from the Commission point of view, from the European point of view, not only are the Commission keen to see restrictions or bans, they're also, of course, identifying these substances which will be registered on a long register which will be available to health authorities and also law enforcement agencies throughout Europe, including in the UK, including in Yorkshire. And that, to my mind, is an enormously positive step.
Given what you're saying about the different products that these substances can be found in, is it practical and is it possible to put a ban in place? Is it not very difficult to track down these substances? And also, given the problems of a kind of underground market that seems to be developing, some of them, for example, say not fit for human consumption on the tin, and yet people know that they can take them if they're looking for these legal highs.
Undoubtedly, there is an underground market, and of course, social media has driven this. And there is a certain amount of, shall we say, excitement, particularly in certain sections of society that say, well, let's try and find these, maybe they will give us a boost, maybe they will have some. The truth of the matter is, of course, that we do need, first of all, to be aware of what the substances are that are in themselves either dangerous or, when mixed with other products, are dangerous. When, in fact, the authorities can test products, they can then determine whether these substances are present and whether, in fact, their presence is dangerous. Quite a lot of people have actually lost their lives, young people, in my own region. In the UK as a whole, in 2012, there were 52 deaths, unnecessary deaths, as a result of taking substances which contained these elements which were dangerous. And at the moment they're almost unregulated. We now need to be sure that we're first of all aware of the situation, aware of the substances, and also that our law enforcement agencies and other agencies are educating young people, but also in particular that we're taking action where necessary to save their lives.
And in the face of taking action, the speed at which the EU can take action. Today we've been talking about reducing the length of time it takes to register new dangers from 2 years down to 10 months. That's still quite a long time, but they also have the suggestion of being able to put in place instant bans for a temporary period. What do you make of these ideas coming out of the European Commission?
Well, I think they're very good ideas. I mean, we have to see how we can implement them, particularly at a national level. Because the EU doesn't have in place any particular apparatus which allows it to immediately, if you like, pounce on suppliers of these things. But it does seem to me that actually bringing down the period for registration, that is for the actual listing and so on, is very important indeed. And over a period of time, I hope that we're going to be able to stamp this out. Certainly it is one area which I think is particularly dangerous, which we just simply have not dealt with, not adequately anyway.
Two final questions. One is the need to look at banning not just the sale of these, but also possibly things like the production line or the trade. These might be coming from not just in Europe, but from other parts of the world. That's going to be tricky to deal with as well, isn't it?
Very difficult, and particularly as some of the substances, as I said earlier, are actually in themselves fairly innocuous, or at least are part of often quite legitimate products. Products sometimes even designed, anti-flu treatments, for instance, contain certain products, certain substances which are actually on their own or mixed in other ways would be very harmful. So I think that it is quite difficult. I'm not in any way moving away from the difficulties, and it isn't so much the source or foreign countries coming into the EU or whatever it is. It is the intention as to the use of these substances which is the big problem. And mixed in the wrong way, that is where we really need to act.
And just finally, these proposals today from the European Commission will come to the European Parliament, so you as an MEP will get your part in fighting for them. What work will you be doing on this? How much interest are you going to take in this one?
Well, I'm taking a very big interest in it because obviously it's one of those areas which, in which one can be doing some real good for one's constituents, and I intend to do that. I also would like to encourage many colleagues who often say, "Oh, it's too difficult, let's not bother." I want to encourage them to understand that in fact we can do something here, something practical, something useful, and something that saves lives.